Have you ever tried to lift a massive rock all by yourself? Imagine this, you're standing in front of this colossal boulder, muscles tensed, sweat trickling down your forehead as you prepare to heave it off the ground. You give it your all, straining every fiber of your being but to no avail. The rock remains unmoved. You try again and again and yet again. Different approaches, different strategies, but the result? The same. This rock, daunting and stubborn, is a metaphor for those monumental challenges we often try to tackle single-handedly. We throw ourselves at them, time and time again, expending energy, time and resources, but sometimes, they just don't budge. Why do we insist on going at it alone when the task is clearly too heavy, too grand for a single person? As the saying goes, many hands make light work. So, why do we often ignore this when facing our personal or professional challenges? Did you ever consider breaking that big rock into smaller pieces? Imagine this. Instead of exhausting yourself trying to move the entire thing at once, you start to chip away at it. With each strike, you're making the rock smaller, more manageable. You're not trying to conquer it all at once, but bit by bit, with every small piece you chip away, you're getting closer to your goal. Now let's think about this in terms of life. We often face tasks that seem monumental, like a giant rock standing in our way. It might be a complex project at work, a challenging exam, or perhaps a personal goal like running a marathon. It's easy to feel overwhelmed, to look at the whole and think, I can't possibly do this. But what if we took the same approach as with the rock? What if we broke down these complex tasks into smaller, more manageable parts? Maybe that work project becomes a series of smaller tasks spread out over a few weeks. That intimidating exam becomes a chapter to study each day, and that marathon, it starts with a jog around the block. The power of small steps is not to be underestimated. Each step might seem insignificant on its own, but together, they add up to something big. It's like that old saying, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. It's the same with our goals and challenges. When we break them down into smaller, manageable parts, we can tackle each one individually. And before we know it, we've achieved something we once thought impossible. It's not about achieving everything at once, it's about progress, about moving forward a little bit each day. So the next time you're facing a task that seems too big to handle, remember the giant rock. Start chipping away at it bit by bit. Take those small steps, and keep moving forward. When we break down our challenges, we realize that what seemed impossible is in fact achievable. But what happens when the rock is still too heavy, even in smaller pieces? Imagine this. You're standing there, smaller rocks scattered around you. You've broken down the challenge, but it's still a hefty task. You can't do it alone. So, what's the next step? You pick up your phone and call a friend. Together you both start lifting these smaller rocks. See, asking for help doesn't make you weak. In fact, it's quite the opposite. It takes strength to admit when a task is too big to handle on your own. It's smart to understand when you need an extra pair of hands, an extra mind, an extra heart. It's efficient to share the load and make the job more manageable. This is the power of collaboration. This is the strength in unity. This is the wisdom in humility. This is the beauty of asking for help. Remember, it's okay to ask for help when we need it. So, what did we learn from our Big Rock Challenge? Well, for starters, we learned that even the most intimidating tasks are manageable if we break them down into smaller, more manageable chunks. Just as it's easier to throw smaller rocks than one large one, it's easier to handle bite-sized tasks than a huge one. We also learned the importance of asking for help. Remember, we are not alone in this world. We have people around us who are willing to lend a hand to share the burden. Don't let your pride or fear hold you back from asking for assistance when you need it. In essence, no task is too big when you approach it with a strategy. Break it down, tackle each part one at a time, and seek help when you need it. Next time you're faced with a big rock, remember, break it down and don't hesitate to ask for help. You'll be amazed at what you can achieve.